All right, awesome. Well, welcome everyone. This is our Advisor One-on-One orientation. My name is DJ Dowling, she, her pronouns, and I am one of the coordinators for student organizations.
Hi, I'm Mari Brown, she, her pronouns, and I am the graduate assistant working with DJ with student organizations this year.
All right, so we are going to go ahead and get started. So for those who just joined us, we will be recording this presentation. So feel free to either save your questions till the end of our presentation and feel free to unmute yourself after that, or you can drop any questions that you may have in our chat as well.
So I'll go ahead and kick us off with the agenda. So these are going to be the things we'll be discussing today in our presentation. First, we'll go over org requirements, and then we'll go over officer eligibility. We'll also do a quick tutorial over OrgSync, which is the website that we use for the student organization. And then we'll also go over what it means to be a registered student organization, the benefits, what that looks like when it comes to submitting your profile on OrgSync. We'll go over the resources available to y'all, and then policies and procedures, space reservations and event planning for student orgs, and then finances and other specifics as well that regard specifically to y'all. So first thing, we'll go over just the basics. Y'all understand what the requirements are to become a student organization at UNT, what eligibility the officer needs to have, and also what OrgSync looks like as well. So first thing here, this is a new change for those of you who have been an advisor in the past, but organizations now only have to register once every academic year instead of once every long semester. So one organization have registered with us this fall, they will not need to register again until next fall. So we also want to encourage though that throughout the academic year, they are updating the OrgSync profile, especially after officer election, which those usually tend to occur in the spring, it looks like. So even though they don't have to register again, we would like them to update the profile so that whoever is the primary contact or new president will be able to receive the notification from OrgSync. And with that, they will also need to attend orientation once per academic year as well. And orientation this year is all online virtually via Canvas. So we have links for those on the website, but also people who are registering, we can also provide the links as well. And then for officers and advisors, you will need at least 2 officers to be considered an organization. Typically, this can be a president and a vice president as well. And then for our advisors, as y'all know, we would need 1 full-time faculty or staff advisor, and we can go into more specifics about those later. And then for members, every student org needs at least 8 members. We do have some exemption; those are on a need-to-know basis. So if you have questions about that, you can always ask us in the chat or later as well. And then all members will need to be UNT student. There are a few exemptions to that, but again, if you have questions about that regarding to you or organization that you're overseeing, you can let us know as well. So the next thing we'll go over quickly is the officer eligibility. So in order for a student to be an officer and maintain that position, they need to have a 2.4 UNT GPA. And then for enrollment, whether it's undergrad or post-bachelor's, it will be 6 hours. And then for grad students, 5 hours or 3 hours of the dissertation or thesis class. Also need to be in good disciplinary standing. So there should be no probation, whether that's academic or with the code of conduct as well. Whenever an officer is deemed ineligible, whether that's from a GPA standpoint or any other circumstances, they will receive an email, and so will the advisor as well. So it's important to be on the lookout for those, and the students will have 7 days to appeal. So they want to appeal, they need to make sure that they're aware of when they're ineligible and to be able to find that appeal form and send it back to the office. And then we'll go ahead and have the tutorial.
Alrighty, so I'm going ahead and share my screen. So please let me know if y'all can see my OrgSync screen as well by just giving me a head nod. Awesome. All right, so this is OrgSync. This is kind of where I live 8 to 5. This is probably where you live when you are, getting updates with your student organization. So this is the holy grail. OrgSync is most compatible with with Google Chrome, so I will make that known as well. So if you are using either Internet Explorer, if you're working from a personal computer, maybe you have Safari, if you have a MacBook or Firefox, Google Chrome is probably the best option and the best alternative for you, along with your student officers as well. So I would always encourage use Google Chrome because it's probably the most friendliest when it comes to this database. You may notice that I continue to say OrgSync. You'll probably see that multiple times throughout our presentation as well, even though in the header and the search bar, it says Campus Labs Engage. OrgSync is just to make sure that we, continue brand recognition. The company has been bought out multiple times, and so each year it gets a new name because it keeps getting bought out. So just for brand recognition, we just keep it as OrgSync, even though it's still Campus Labs. So this is our main homepage right now, and this is what all of our officers, all of our advisors, and any person who has access to this page will see. This is our homepage. So this is where you can click, the events tab and see what events have currently been approved by our office, what's currently going on campus, organizations that are currently registered with our student activities, news articles, as well as forums. And so this kind of just shows like a glimpse of everything as well. So you can see all the memberships. So if you are an advisor for multiple organizations, it'll show in your memberships, any events that are currently happening. So right now you'll see our Advisor 101, which is what you RSVP'd with. And this is how students will be able to promote their upcoming events. And then any news articles. So this is just another form to just advertise any events that your organization has upcoming as well. So we do see a lot of our organizations, especially over the last year, during, when we were just mainly virtual, this is how they were able to promote as well. We also put any updates as well. So if there are any, deadlines, so our upcoming deadline is our priority registration deadline, which is September 3rd. So it's this Friday. So most of your organizations probably have already been registered if you're attending this meeting. But just in case you may have, other friends who are advisors or other students who are part of organizations and they're wondering if their organization has gotten registered, they must get registered at least by our priority deadline. And then we also have updates on different events, so how to submit an event application, and orientation, which is as Mari said, on Canvas. These tabs here just go into a bigger bring up a bigger page. So I always tell students, especially our students who are looking to get involved, you can really customize this to see what events you actually want to attend, whether they be virtual or in person. So if I'm looking for a specific service event, you can look for all the events that have service as a part of their category. I know as a student, when I was in undergrad, I always wanted to know where the free food was at. And so you can click that as well, where the free food, or, organizations always like to give out free stuff as well. Free food kind of brings people. I know it brought me to a lot of things that I probably wouldn't have attended if they didn't, advertise that they were going to have free food, right? So you can go into that. And then if you just click any of these meetings, you can find out more information. And then you can also RSVP, similar to what you did as well. So you kind of get the whole student experience. Organizations, so this goes into a broader scale of all of our organizations we have here at UNT. So right now, if you look at the bottom right here, it says that we have 388 organizations. This actually will change after our priority deadline because we will hide all of the organizations who have not registered with us. So this is just to make sure that we're encouraging our organizations to get registered. This is also another way for us to kind of put fire under them, because one of the benefits of being a registered student organization is to highlight your organization, to submit events. But if you don't do it by our priority deadline, then you don't get that access. So we want to make sure that we stay true to that. Along with that, we have updated our categories over the last academic year to make them more streamlined. So if I'm a student and I'm in the College of Education, I can click all of the organizations that identify with that as well. And you can find out more information. So if I want to click a specific student organization, I can look at their profile. So this is what organizations do. This is one of their first pages when they're submitting their registration. And this is how they fill it out. So they'll update their email. Some of them will have, their social media profiles linked to it as well. If there's an organization that maybe has membership requirements, they'll list that under the requirements section. Sometimes organizations will also have, maybe a fee to join, whether it be on an annual or semesterly basis. If they have registered with us and they submitted any events, this is where their events will show. And then officers. So it's really up to the organization and whether or not they want their officers to show. This is just another easy way for prospective members to reach out to our officers. So if I'm interested in this specific organization and I find out that Ryan is the president, I can directly click on this link, get their email information, and directly email them on how do I join? Can I find out more information? And that's a great way to be able to continue that communication. Also with documents, each organization does have to submit a constitution and bylaws. So if I'm an organization and I want this to be seen or to be shown on my profile page, I can show that as well so that people have a better understanding of, okay, do these constitution and bylaws, or does this mission statement actually identify with who I am as a person, or is this something of interest to me as well? Also, if I am talking too fast, because I know I do talk quite fast as well, please let me know to slow down. You could just drop that in the chat, DJ, slow down. So our next page is news articles, as I said. So from your portal, you can submit news articles, and then we have forums. So forums is just another way to interact with either fellow members of your organization. As an officer, you do have, and as an advisor, you can create forums. So if you want to find out what's everyone's favorite restaurant in Denton, you can create a forum like that. Or if you want to figure out when's the best day for us to have meetings on campus, that's also another thing to do. So everyone has this explore page as long as you log in with your EUID and password, but not everyone will have the manage. So as an advisor, you have this manage section right here. So if I click on this manage section, yours will look a little bit different from mine just because I have administrative access. So I see all registration forms, I see all event forms that have been submitted, as well as just any forms as well. So if I click my membership and I click this student activities portal, we like to call this, I always call it this the hamburger, because it has 3 lines. This is how you'll navigate your own portal. So in this is how you'll check your roster. So in case you want to add anyone to your roster, maybe it's a new student, or you want to update, maybe you get a new president or a new treasurer, you can update their titles as well. So you can invite people to your portal, you can manage positions. So it's really up to the organization's discretion. So let's say if I don't want all members to have access to submit event applications, that is something that you can do to customize it. So think of this as like your Google Drive. It's very compatible with your Google Drive. And I try to tell students that as well. Let this be the place where, any information or any documents that you have, stays within this portal, because when students start using alternative things like Google Drive, Yahoo, if you still use AOL, I don't know if people still use AOL, but that's also another option. Things can get lost in translation when you're transitioning over officers. So just keep that in mind as well. Events. So if an organization wants to submit an event application, I know that's a pretty popular question that we get here in our office. So if they just want to click the events tab and then create event, this is how they'll be able to create an event through their portal. If they ever want to create a news article, as I said, they can create a news article by just clicking the news section. Gallery, if they ever have any photos that they would like to upload from any of their events, or maybe if they have like a historian, they can upload any pictures, videos, I think, into this section. Documents, so all organizations are required to have a constitution and bylaws. So once your registration has been approved, your updated copy of your constitution and bylaws will actually go under this document section. But let's say if they have other things that they want to, just make sure that everyone has access to, they can upload it here and just add in folders. So just treat this like your Google Drive, right? Keep it like your OneDrive so that you can keep things organized, you can keep things updated. Form section. So as I mentioned before, you can create different forms. So you can have a start date, open date, and have your members fill this out. And then you can, extract reports from this. One thing that you'll see on your portal, but you won't see it on mine, is elections. So instead of doing paper ballots, because, at UNT, we're trying to go green, you can do virtual elections as well. So they can create their own virtual elections through OrgSync. So this is pretty much the holy grail for our student organizations. And I always encourage them to use this fully. And if they ever have questions about how to utilize OrgSync, they can always come to our office and we can instruct them on how to use it as well. And then of course, if you want to ever archive any old forms, so like, let's say if you have stuff from like 2016, 2017, which I tend to see in a lot of student organizations, you can archive it because, you probably don't need that history, but maybe if you want to go back, you can always include archive and it'll show all the previous forms that you've archived in the past. Another thing that I just want to highlight before I pass it over to Mari is your icon section. So this, as an advisor, you'll be able to click your just initial, and then you can update this. So students can update their preferred email address. So we know that not all students are checking their MyUNT. We're not surprised by that, right? So if they want to update this to maybe their Gmail, their Yahoo, their AOL, if you're like me and still use your AOL account, they can have all of their notifications actually go under the preferred email section. But I would keep in mind that when they are trying to register or they're trying to add anyone into their portal, it has to be a MyUNT email address, or it has to be a UNT email address, because this is how our IT will only connect URLs or email addresses that have UNT in it. If it's a foreign email address like a Gmail, we won't be able to add it and you won't have access to it. So just keep that in mind. But if you want any of your notifications to go to Gmail, AOL, you can put in your preferred email address as well, if you check that more often. You can, as an advisor, also change your privacy settings. So let's say if you don't want to be shown on the main page of your organization's portal, you can hide it. You can hide pretty much anything as well if you don't want people to contact you. Another thing is submissions, which I think is pretty important. So organizations always ask us where they are in the process of their registration or where they are in the process of their event application form. So they can just click on any of these tabs. So if I'm doing an election, I can create an elections through my portal, but then I can also on the back end see who, how people voted anonymously. So you won't know exactly like, oh, Chelsea voted for X, Y, and Z to be president, but you'll be able to see that report if you're the person who created it. Also with registrations, if an organization ever has questions about their registration or what their status is, let's say they've gotten denied because we needed them to edit anything in their profile, they can just click through their My Submissions and then go through organization registration and then click on this little I and it'll take them directly to their registration profile. And then with the events tab, similar thing. So let's say an organization is looking to see what the status is of their event. They can either click right here to the events tab and then click on that specific event to see if it's been approved, and you can see the status right here. Or if you go to your manage section, if you have the right permissions, you'll be able to see what event applications have been submitted and if they have been approved by our office. So that is OrgSync in a nutshell. Please feel free to drop it in the chat if you have any other questions, but I will pass it back over to Mari.
Perfect. Thank you, Jay. Go ahead and move on to the next part. So we're going to go over registration. Jay kind of touched on some of it during OrgSync, but we'll go into some of the other details as well. So some of the privileges of being a registered student organization allows you to reserve space on campus for organization meetings or activities. So that would be through the event application, to reserve any sort of a classroom space or any other space in the union or other stuff like that for any events or meetings as well. You can also participate in university sponsored events. So this means homecoming, mean green fling, orientation, all the other events that we have at UNT, they can be a part of to either table or explain to other people more about their organization as well for recruitment. Another thing which Jay touched on was that they can appear in the student org database for viewing by potential members. So this allows students who are interested or trying to figure out where they want to be in the student org can look up, keywords or special interests, and that will allow those organizations to pull up. And so being registered allowed that to be to have them pop up on the search engine essentially. And then they can also advertise on campus using UNT branding within the scope of your university policy, of course. That is another pro for sure for that. And then there's also eligibility to apply to Eagle Nest and the Road Travel Grant. And they're both financial opportunities that will help give further access to this organization for any events or any travel that they want to do as well. And then submitting your OrgSync profile. So in order to update the profile, you must currently be the primary contact or president within the OrgSync portal. So this is why we said it's important to update the roster with any current officer, current president. So that way, whoever the primary contact is able to go ahead and re-register or register for their organization. It's also best to have all the information that we have listed here. So the number of active members, the UNT advisor, so your name, your department, phone, and your email as well. And then we also need the name, title, and the EUID and email of all officers who are in the organization, and they need to all be listed on OrgSync, just so that we can make sure we have the right numbers and that anyone that needs to receive notification are able to do so. And we also need the most updated copy of the organization constitution and bylaws, and these will have to include the required clauses. They have not changed in a while, so if they have a previous constitution, it's still good to go, but it's always good to double check so there's no delay in registration. We have seen that happen recently, and you can also access the sample of it on the UNT Student Activities website, and our copy has everything that's required verbatim in red, so that way it's easier to navigate. And then you will get updates from the fall 2021 student organization update form. And so this will be whenever a student receives an email about their OrgSync profile, if something needs to be edited or something needs to be changed as well. And then the big question is, how do I know when I am registered? So we get a lot of emails sometimes about, how long does it take or where are we in the process? The students will know when they're registered once they get an email from UNT Student Activities OrgSync with the subject line, your registration request for whatever the org name is had been approved. So that's when they know for sure. As Jay said, you can always go back to their submission. They can see if there's any edits that they need to make. We usually comment on the form as well with any edits and changes that we need them to do, or if they need a complete orientation in order us to fully approve. And you will also have to approve the application as well. And then, as we said, the priority deadline is September 3rd, which is this Friday. And if they register before then, they will be able to enter a $100 co-sponsorship. And that will allow them to have a chance to win and use that money to help create fun events for their organization or do other things as well to help out their members.
I will add also along with that, so the person who submits the registration will be the person that gets the notification email that says you have been approved. So if your secretary is the person that fills out that form, but the president is thinking that, oh, okay, we are registered, I would double check with that secretary or the person who did submit it, because once they go ahead and get that submission in, it could be denied. And I want to make sure that people are staying on top of it, because sometimes we don't have organizations that stay on top of their requests as well.
So also we have resources as well for student organizations. So some of the few is our student organization workspace, which is in room technically Union 337, so third floor. It's not a reservable space by any means, so but it's the first come first served basis. You cannot stake a claim, but they are available sometimes for after hours and weekend news once you check online. And this provides a space for a lot of our organizations to get together and chat, or members to kind of hang out. So it's a fun space for people to kind of meet up. So we had the same thing in my undergrad as well, and it was always a fun space to kind of be in with other members of your organizations or meeting other orgs as well. And then the other thing we have are lockers, which are available in the union near our offices. So there are two sizes left right now, and they're the full and the split. And the locker will typically be assigned for the academic year. So it will be for the entirety academic year, then they will have to apply again next year. And you can apply in OrgSync by September 3rd, so this Friday as well, for a priority deadline after being registered. So you must be registered first as a student or before you can apply for that. And then once they have the application, they'll receive an email from student orgs about the locker assignment, and then they can come get a key from us here. And another fun resource we have is our Student Organization of the Month. This is something you also apply for in OrgSync. This is the deadline that we had before at the 15th of each month starting in September. I believe that is still the same, but if that changes, it's something you can also look online as well. And this allows the winner to receive a $100 co-sponsorship for any sort of organization activity, and they'll be recognized on our social media as well. And the funds must be used within 1 month of the award. And so this typically is your organization has done a huge service event, or you had a really big event, with a lot of members, or maybe a guest speaker that was really impactful. If you send that in, we can determine, who can be the organization of the month and get that co-sponsorship as well. And then our additional resources and events. So from Student Activities, we have our Student Org Chronicles, which is done by our counterparts. And so they will send that out to all of our student org leaders about what's currently happening, other resources for them to be successful in their leadership role as well. We also have the Student Organization Leader Development Workshop, and this is another thing for our student org leaders to develop in their role and to become better leaders, learn skills and how they can use their experience in a job setting as well. And then we have our Mean Green Fling, which of course has already passed, but we do have our Mean Green Spring Fling in the spring. And so that will be another opportunity for orgs to table and recruit more members in the spring semester. And then we have our involvement fairs, which we had one last week. And this is, again, another kind of tabling opportunity for students to come around and learn more about other orgs and kind of get more of that one-on-one interaction and understand what an organization is about. And then we have our Feature Friday, which is when we feature a particular student organization for any sort of recognition as well. And then the CEO prep, which is similar to the leader development, is also done as well. And then the Eagle Awards, I know, is another thing that they've been able to do. So some of these might be changing or they're adding on new stuff as well, but those are things that you can kind of keep up with either from the Student Org Chronicles, which the students receive, or from our advisor newsletter as well. And then from the Center for Leadership and Service, so the CLS, they have the All for NT and NT for All, which I don't know, can you explain more on that, Jay?
Yeah, so All for NT for All is a one-day leadership conference. So there will be different, students, faculty, staff members that will present. It's free for students, but you get to learn a little bit more about different categories. They have like different sessions, kind of like our equity and diversity conference that we have with that division. But it's a great opportunity for students. I know last year, myself and my co-coordinator, Asia Claiborne, we both presented along with our graduate assistant. So it's typically held in November. So be on the lookout for upcoming dates as well. And registration is free. It'll probably be on OrgSync.
Thank you. And then we also have leadership lunches. This is a once per month typically, with various topics relating to leadership, and of course free food, which is always a win for students. So these are options for students to partake in to kind of make the most of their experience being in a student org, being a leader as well.
All right, so Mari left me with the fun part about talking about policies and procedures. So this is something that our student organizations, tend to not to glance over, or sometimes, we have to, reiterate these policies and procedures. So we'll go into some of these topics. Mari, if you want to click the next slide. It's okay. We're doing this virtually, trying to stay safe. So posters. So a lot of our organizations want to promote upcoming events, maybe their meetings. So one thing to note is that posters, you can post them as long as they are on open bulletin boards. So if they are not enclosed in a case, usually those are departmental ones that are in the academic buildings, you can't post there. But in the open bulletin boards, you can most certainly post as long as you see other orgs post and other departments post. Keep in mind that we do not allow for organizations to post on light fixtures, leave in the bathrooms of the union. If we do find that organizations do post on light fixtures, like the light poles you probably have seen as you're walking around campus, I always take them down, and I also reach out to the organization, just reiterating our policy. We don't want to deface campus. Also, you can't have just loose flyers on tables. So sometimes I'll see organizations leave things in the bathroom. Sometimes they'll leave it throughout the union. We want to make sure that they are placed on an approved space. So typically our open bulletin boards. Another way that they can also advertise is through our residence hall. So they would just need to reach out to the resident, the community director, to just post any flyers, and they can give that out. And then the resident, the hall director will then go ahead and pass that out to all of their residents. Another way that organizations can also advertise is through lawn signs. So typically you see those along the sidewalks. They can also grab lawn signs from Design Works, there is a fee. It is not free, so if they want to, they can most certainly do so. Design Works, I believe, will also do graphic designs for them as well, which may be an additional fee, but if they are interested in that, they most certainly can advertise. Another opportunity that organizations have are doing digital signage. So we see a lot of our orgs do this through the union. So as you're walking through the union, you'll see those large boards. They can reach out to our conference and event services. We actually have a website dedicated to our student orgs on how to advertise that. Yes, Tony, you might be able to tell us a little bit more.
Yes, lawn signs, they're $7 without stakes, $10 with stakes.
Yes.
And then the digital signage form is on the union's website under marketing, and the union student orgs, they get the digital signage for free, and it's usually for 2 weeks. So yeah.
Awesome. That's good to know. So yes, that is a great option for our students. So definitely take advantage of it because other entities have to pay. So, why not advertise for free if you can? And, we see a lot of our students, in the union, especially as they're waiting in the long Starbucks line or Chick-fil-A, which has been quite long these past couple of days. So I haven't been able to get my coffee as soon as I would like. So as I mentioned, no matter how great of an artist you are, you also can't chalk on our campus. We do not allow chalking. If we do find out an organization is chalking, we will reach out to them. And if we feel like there is a pattern, then we may have to submit them to conduct. So that goes with taping, that goes with chalking. We know we have a lot of great organizations doing a lot of great things, but just make sure that you don't, mark where you're not supposed to mark. If an organization is looking to use any official UNT branding, they must go through the university relations and communications marketing. So our university marketing, if they want to do any logos, making sure that they don't stretch the diving eagle color at tie-dye, stretch it to pink, add a cowboy hat on it, it has to go by university policy, so that they can reach out to that office directly for approval. And this includes any clothing, posters, promo items as well. So other things, solicitation. So solicitation is asking for someone's time and resources, typically at a table. So organizations are able to table this year, so you probably have seen them throughout the union. This is not limited to recruiting members, requesting donations, promoting an event or an idea, belief, or selling items. So we do tell students that if they are doing any type of donations at tabling, they have to ask for donations. They can't require someone to pay $5 for a donut. If I wanted to, I could pay $1 because it's for donation. So we always emphasize that. But if they are looking to maybe table within the union, they can fill out a solicitation form on the union's website under conference and event services as well. Fundraising is also allowed on campus. So is another form of solicitation. But one thing that I like to always emphasize, and we also emphasize this in our training, is raffles are actually illegal in the state of Texas. So if you want to have a raffle, let's not call it a raffle. Let's actually talk about it and unpack that a little bit, just to make sure that we're not only abiding by university policy, but also by state as well, because we don't want to get in trouble by the state. So if your organization is maybe looking to do some type of fundraiser, reach out to us. If they're looking to have maybe a raffle adjacent, reach out to us as well so that we can help them make sure that they follow those policies. No matter how great of a baker you are, I know I have been watching a lot of cooking channels, so Food Network, you can't actually do homemade baked good sales at UNT because that goes against our food handling policies. We want to make sure that you're not adding extra ingredients, you're not undercooking things, and you're following, things safely in a safe environment for people who actually have permits. So no baked good sales, but they can do like prepackaged foods. That is one of our rules. So they can do like prepackaged foods, or if they're planning to do an event with any type of food, the establishment must have a valid food permit. And we have all of our food safety, the director of food safety actually tagged on our event application, who then reviews all of the events that have food handling. So our next slide is free speech and public assembly. So here at UNT, we are a public institution, so students are allowed to have any type of expressive activity as long as it's within federal and state law and university policy on campus. There are a few exceptions that have to be followed. So they can't interfere with the mission of the university, and also including classes. So we, as students, you do not have to, they don't have to register for the space. They don't have to sign up for it because off campus is technically considered to be free speech. But if they want a specific area and they want to reserve that space for maybe an expressive activity, they have to at least do that 8 days in advance. When you are promoting, you know, in advance, you're using amplified sound because we do have a curfew, and there has to be a certain decibel as well because classes are in session. Maybe if an organization wants to do a parade, march, or rally, because we want to make sure that it's safe, and we want to also just loop in UNT PD as well to make sure that they're not slowing down traffic or stopping traffic. Sometimes our organizations also like to use large structures. So sometimes you'll see on campus as you're walking a large display board, a bounce house, a zip line. So we want to make sure that all these events that they're doing are very safe, or if they just want to guarantee that space. But this is actually one form that is not on OrgSync, is actually through the Dean of Students, and they actually have to get approval. So if they are looking for more information about free speech and public assembly, they can visit our Dean of Students website. So event planning, our organizations are super excited about being able to fully plan. I have received a lot of calls, a lot of emails about how do I submit an event application. You can only submit an event application unless you are registered. So all of your organizations have been registered. So you can encourage them to submit event applications. Honestly and truly, I would recommend that if you have any idea on what you're planning to do this academic, this semester, to submit those event applications, because we are very limited to the spaces. Students can actually book in the union for free as well. So that is one of the opportunities that as a student organization, as a registered student organization, you can actually book a space in the union, unlike departments where we have to pay a fee. So when you are submitting an event application, just make sure that you have all of the logistics. So I always encourage organizations to have, full details, because those are things that I look for when I'm reviewing an event application. So you can request a space on campus after you're registered. We will deny any forms from organizations that may not be registered, and we'll typically put that in the comments section as well. You must wait for an email confirmation as well, that we mentioned earlier, to let your organization know that you are approved. So typically what you do is you go into your portal, you'll fill out that event application form. Then let's say you are the president and you fill out that event application form with all of the details. Go ahead and give a thumbs up once you hit that submit button, right? Give a thumbs up, because we will not move forward with the event application unless the advisor and the president approve it. So you as the advisor will also get a notification saying that your review has been requested for your student org, because they're planning to have, maybe they're having a meeting, maybe they're having, a large event. Any event that is considered to be low risk. So typically our chapter meetings, small gatherings, we ask that you at least submit it 5 business days. Right now it's the beginning of the semester, so we're getting an influx of event applications. I think one day I approved almost 80 event applications in one sitting. That quickly shot back up to 80 when I came back in the next day. So we're getting tons of event applications, and I'm also training new students as well. So I do ask that our organizations are very patient with us, but we try to get to them as soon as possible. But just 5 business days for any event. But if it's a larger event or it has any type of risk, so typically risk is identified as having over 100 people. Maybe you're having like a party, sound. If you're having any type of event or rally, that includes rallies, or maybe you're trying to do like a yard show or any type of physical activity, please submit it 15 business days in advance, because the organization may need to speak with the event safety committee. And the event safety committee is comprised of individuals who from various campus partners who review the event, and we make sure that all risk has been identified with that student organization. Once your event has been approved, so usually in the comments, we will leave a comment stating where you have been placed as far as your event. So whether it's a classroom, union space, rec, sports field, maybe you're looking to do apogee as well, we will all put a comment letting you know exactly this is what day you have been booked for, this is what day you have been approved for. We always tell organizations to give their top 3 preferences. Usually when it comes to classrooms, the BLB is the most popular because it's brand new and it's shiny, and it's really nice to be in. I love being in the BLB as well. But to also, knowing that the BLB is also very popular, but it's also restricted to a lot of departmental classes as well. So we don't really have access. We can't override a class that's being in session. So definitely have other options. Definitely be flexible when they are submitting any events. The last day to hold events this year will actually be November 30th. So after November 30th, if it's during finals week, it has to get approval from the Dean of Students. I will say that more likely than not, she probably will not approve it because we want students to focus on their final exams. But let's say it's way after final exam, students can then submit an event application afterwards. But we typically don't see that too often just because a lot of students have gone away for winter break. So finances. I love talking about money sometimes. Our orgs also love talking about money as well. So many of our organizations have a bank account here on campus with Wells Fargo. So if they have a bank account on campus, I would just make sure that they're updating that information anytime they transition officers. Because what can happen, and what we've noticed is that an organization will have, certain officers from 2 years ago be on, be on the bank account. Well, that officer is graduated, they have left the country, they're living their best life at this moment, right? Or maybe the advisor has left. It's going to be harder for you to gain access because your bank, because your name is not on the account. So we always ask that the advisor is on the account as well as a president, and then possibly if you have a treasurer as well. That way you have multiple people in case people do graduate, and the advisor, if you still plan to be the advisor for the organization, you can be able to add people on. So if you do have an existing account, I would just check with your organization. They can complete a checking account verification form, which is actually located on OrgSync. This is just a way for you to keep updated to make sure that only current signatories are on the bank account as well. Sometimes Wells Fargo will require the current signatories if you're trying to transition officers or add new people. Everyone needs to be present. So just keep that in mind as well. And I think you can do this at any Wells Fargo. It doesn't have to be the one on this campus. It can be any local one as well. If you want to also make sure that you're putting the right signatories, make sure that your profile is updated. So let's say you have a new president and they're not currently attached on the account. Make sure that that they are updated, because that's what we go by when we review the checking of account verification form. Then we'll write a letter on your behalf for you to give it to Wells Fargo. And they'll be able to accept that letter and then add the new signatories. If you're a new organization and you're looking to open up a bank account, first thing that you have to do is apply for a federal tax ID, similar to Social Security number with the IRS. So we don't handle federal tax IDs. They would have to go through the IRS. I always recommend not having a bank account because I feel like that gets very sticky because your Social Security number is attached to it. There are other means for you to handle money if you do have any events or you're trying to request money from your organization. But I know a lot of organizations do function because they have membership dues. So just keep that in mind when opening a bank account as well. So taxes and exemptions and fundraising. So student orgs are not automatically tax exempt just because they're students here at UNT. Also, if you have a federal tax ID or an employer ID, you most likely do have a bank account, but does not mean that you're tax exempt. So there are two types of taxes, as we know. There's state taxes when you go to the store and you buy items like at Walmart or Target, you have to pay state sales tax, but then there are also federal as well. So not many organizations will have to pay federal tax unless they're making at least $5,000 or more in income. I don't see that very often, but if they do, then you will have to pay taxes on that as well. Just contact your bank for more guidance, or the IRS. There are exemptions to taxes. So if an organization has a national affiliation, I would check with the national affiliation to see if they are tax exempt. Typically, if you have a 501c3, they will be able to have a tax exemption form for you. But if you aren't tax exempt and you're looking to maybe do a fundraiser at Chipotle, we can write a letter on your behalf, letting you know, letting the company know that you are a registered organization with student activities, and they'll more than likely they'll accept that form on behalf of student activities so that you can do any type of fundraisers as well. So going into more money, specifically free money, we have Eagles Nest funding, which Eagles Nest is a way for organizations to apply with the Student Government Association. So Eagles Nest is a fund that helps register student organizations with any on-campus events, services, or projects. So in order to begin that process, an organization must submit an event application. Also, this is to confirm any space as well. And then from there, they must attend a SGA resource meeting, which their dates and times and locations are located on the SGA website. They must apply at least 4 weeks before their event, just to make sure that they get approved for the Eagles Nest funding. So this is free money. This has to be open to all students, not just members of your organization. And the deadline for that is typically in November. Whereas the route travel grant is for organizations who are maybe looking to do any type of conference travel, competition travel. This is just a way for students to get money to increase their learning or increase their knowledge within their organization. So with this one, they have to attend an SGA resource meeting, but they must apply no later than 3 months before their travel, and not later than 2 weeks before their travel. So if you know that you're planning to travel maybe in spring semester, I would do it in advance, so that way you already have that submitted to the committee. The difference between the RALP travel grant and Eagles Nest funding is RALP is a reimbursement program. So you pay up front and then we reimburse you after your trip. We make sure that you have your itemized receipts, and then we refund you within 14 days. Whereas Eagles Nest funding, we pay for things on behalf of the organization. So just keep that in mind. We know a lot of students do not have, let's say conference travel or registration fee is like $300. Typically that sounds about right with a student, with the National Association. They can go through the Student Money Management Center to pay for any out-of-pocket costs, and then they can just pay back the Student Money Management Center. And these are loans. There's not any type of interest on these loans as well, but this is just another opportunity for students who may not have the funds automatically to go ahead and do any type of travel.
All right. So moving on to the last part of our presentation, we're going to go ahead and talk a little bit more about y'all. And so requirements of being an advisor must be full-time UNT faculty or staff member, at least 22 years of age, not pursuing an undergrad degree at UNT, will have to participate in the risk management program in the first year of advising. So typically this is a quiz, I believe, online that we have available. And then you also need to participate in any kind of annual clarity training provided by UNT and understand the obligation to report any crime as well due to the Clarity Act. So focus on some of the responsibilities y'all have as an advisor. So responsibility of the individual group members. So it's important to understand the impact that you have on these students. They've asked you to be an advisor. They also look up to you. They enjoy spending time with you. And so this is a good opportunity for you to kind of impart more with them or have an impact on them as well outside of school. So this allows you to help students find a balance between their academic pursuit and extracurricular activities. You can encourage them to participate in plan organization event. They can get experience with event planning and learning how to kind of expand their organization as well. Also, a good opportunity for you to encourage students to accept responsibility for specific roles within the group. So kind of leadership roles, or if they have an event and they have to delegate tasks and stuff, it's a good opportunity for them to learn what that looks like. And then also provide encouragement and guidance through a wide range of situations. Now, I know for me, my advisor, my undergrad was really important to me, and he actually helped me get into my master's program here at UNT. And so it's always interesting to see when advisor really have that impact on a student, and it might not be a big group of people, but that one person you impact can really mean a lot to them as well. So for the student org, continuity is a big thing. Obviously, officers are changing on a year basis. There might be a new advisor that they have to get. So it's important to be familiar with the student organization, the history of it, and the Constitution. Provide stability for the org so that records are not lost during the transition of officers. So always having a good transition manual for officers, whether between the new treasurer, new president, a new any kind of social media chair, stuff like that. And you can also do that with the forms on OrgSync that DJ went through as well, to kind of keep those archived and easily accessible for people. And they can also assist students with information regarding events, so the event planning process, any other process as well, whether it's like the checking account that we went over and policies. And then also focus on things that worked in the past for the organization and other things that they can learn from for future events as well. And then also important with the fiscal oversight, this is kind of an opportunity for some students to work with a budget, and that might not be something they've had to do in the past. And especially dealing with other people's money, if there's membership dues, and making sure they're being responsible with that. And so you were able to help them open and kind of manage their financial account. And while most organizations do have a treasurer, typically you can also provide guidance and training on how to create a good budget and how to keep good financial records as well. So there's a lot of skills they can learn from this and things that you can help them with. And then another thing to be aware of is you can also help them plan any kind of realistic goals, planning for the year, what events they want to do, how do they want to recruit members, based off their mission statement, how do they want to exemplify that in the events they have, be aware of programs that the organization has planned and inform them in institutional policy, also be aware of the calendar UNT puts on their own events. And so it's always important to make sure there's not an overlap so that people are able to attend your organization event. And then you can also be able to meet with those organization members, the officers, one-on-one to kind of help them with any more insight. A lot of times my advisor in my undergrad always had someone in his office talking to him, whether it was something kind of important about what they want to do when they graduate or just a very social outing. And so it's always nice to be available to the students so they know that they can kind of talk to you if they ever have any questions or concerns. And then you're also, of course, able to offer any ideas or brainstorm and kind of help them move along in their process and kind of think of ways to be a good student organization and continue to impact other people as well.
So when we talk about the responsibility to UNT, providing a unique perspective for students regarding university policies and procedures as an advisor, everyone, if you have not already taken the advisor risk management quiz, please do so. I also always provide that link in our advisor post that I send out on a monthly basis. So I have a quiz, and just so that you can have a better understanding of our university policies as well as the Texas Education Code. Meetings as well. We encourage meetings for you to participate. You don't have to attend all of them. I don't expect you to attend all of them, but being able to, have camaraderie with your student organization members as well. It's important to make sure that, students feel empowered by their advisors, and making sure that you also have a better understanding of what the organization is about as well. Advisor approval. So anytime student orgs are looking to do any type of update, so during registration, you saw that you had to approve the registration and review it. That's something new that we've done this year. Event application, you will always be tagged on it, or you should always be tagged on it as well. Eagle mail requests, checking verification count. These are ways that we want to make that you're included as an advisor so that you can have a better understanding of what's happening, what they're doing, if they're changing anything, so that you can add your input or feedback to the organization officers. Some of the benefits of just being an advisor is to provide personal and professional development, as Mari mentioned, helping students mature and develop individual skills to make them stronger leaders. Yes, we know that academia is important, but we also want them to graduate and be able to take on these current skills that they're learning within their positions to be able to make them employable for the future. So we have workshops as well. We mentioned CEO prep. We also have officer workshops throughout the academic year, hosted by our counterparts, Asia Claiborne and Lauren, who will be able to send that out to all of our officers through our newsletter. And then at the end of the year, we have an advisor reception. So it's typically held in April and May. We want to celebrate you as advisors. We know that it's not easy. We do appreciate all the time and effort that you do take apart from your 9-to-5 jobs to support our student organizations, because without you as the advisor, there would not be a student organization on campus, and there wouldn't be prospective members and current members. So we do appreciate everything that you do as advisors. We do have some upcoming advisor workshops, so check out for our newsletter. I'll be sending one out either this week or next week with upcoming ones for the rest of the fall semester. And then we'll also be scheduling some for spring as well. So we'll do roundtable discussions where we get to talk with other advisors and just build community. We'll also do advisor appreciation week, but just make sure to check out our newsletters, and then also contact Student Activities if you have any questions. So that is the end of our presentation. We ended right on the dot. So I'm going to stop this recording, and feel free to unmute yourself or drop anything in the chat if you have any questions. But thank you so much for attending our presentation today.